Hey everyone, and welcome to the EDT 504 Common Assignment screencast I made. Now, for this assignment, I designed a flip lesson for a small summer school class of only 6 students. This was for students in between freshman and sophomore year that had failed Global Studies 1 during their freshman year. I actually taught 5 of the 6 students their freshman year at Timon, so I was already very familiar with them and they with me, which helped the comfort level of implementing a totally new type of model of a flipped classroom for them. Now, the woman who was actually teaching the course over the summer school, Mrs. Kathy Wall Henshaw, had already had experience with flipped classroom. She's a social studies and biology teacher at St. Mary's in Lancaster. And she was very helpful, not only in kind of, working me through where the students were at that point in the summer, but also giving me her own insights of her experiences in working with a flipped classroom. So after consulting with her a couple times and meeting with her, we decided on the unit that we were going to the lesson that was going to be created would be Hinduism and Buddhism. Now, it was a relatively short topic. We figured, just to do this over about 2 days. There's limited time that you have working with summer school. But an important one, making sure that we went over very important beliefs, and one that I thought worked well for a flipped classroom, of incorporating an awful lot of multimedia and some things that they could do cooperatively for activities afterwards. Now, creating the PowerPoint that I used for the flip video, I followed John Bergman's advice of going very light on the text and incorporating mostly pictures and then allowing my speaking to kind of supplement the rest. When I'll show you a clip from the flip video in a little bit, but just to show you an example of it, just kind of hitting the main points, tried to incorporate as many pictures and visuals as possible to kind of engage the students and give them a better understanding, but keeping it light in the notes so as they would work on their note-taking skills more. Put in some animations just to give them kind of a little bit of bells and whistles, so to speak. But even with that, keeping it fairly simple, not trying to go overboard with it, allowing the substance to really kind of set in. Now, the video itself was created with Screencast-O-Matic, which I'm using for this video as well. And just give you a quick taste of what that was like.
The Brahmins at the top here, these are your, my handwriting, priests. Okay, priests were at the top of the caste system, which makes sense, right? If you think about it, the ultimate goal of the caste system and reincarnation is to achieve moksha, and that is a spiritual enlightenment. So priests are the most spiritual, so they get the top billing in it. Them are kshatriyas, and kshatriyas are your kings, also your warriors.
So you get the idea. One of the cool things about Screencastify is that it allows you to, Screencast-O-Matic, I'm sorry. It allows you to annotate. You can put notes up there. Anytime you write something on the board, the same as doing it on a video, it kind of brings attention to the students of saying, well, maybe I should write this down. Now, for the first day, I also followed Bergman's advice of not just, kind of giving it to them overnight and then coming in on the first day and just talking about it and jumping right into activities. None of these students had ever experienced a flipped video before, so it was very new for them. So we watched it all in class. The other issue at hand was I didn't have all of the technology resources that the students would have had this lesson been given during the year. At Timon, every student is given their own personal laptop. They take it home with them. They can use them for homework. Obviously we use them in class all the time. They don't have those for summer school. And some of the students, they didn't have really reliable access to the internet. They all had phones that they could access things on, but laptops, no. Even kind of table tops and things of that nature. So, I thought it was just best for a number of reasons to watch the video in class with them. And also to kind of, walk them through the whole process of it. While the video was on, I paused it numerous times, called attention to things that I thought that they should write down in their notes. While I was doing this, Ms. Wall Henshaw would walk around and help out as well. It was a small class, as I said, so it wasn't all that difficult to make sure that every student stayed on task. But still, wanting to make sure that they got it. And they did for the most part. They were very receptive to it. They were enthusiastic. They seemed very engaged. They actually did a better job of taking notes for this than they did for me when I would put up PowerPoints with nothing but text in class during the year. So in that respect, it did seem successful. Now, I also provided them with a study guide that just to kind of, focus some of their note-taking and, give them focused questions and things of that nature. They didn't answer all of this as we went through it in the class. Actually, it took a good bit longer than expected between some technical issues I had at the beginning of the class and then stopping it and kind of discussing it and kind of even, answering certain student questions they had. A 12-minute video that I created for the first day ended up taking almost the entire hour class. So this, we just kind of had to quickly go through a little bit towards the end of class, and I allowed them to finish that for homework. But something like this, this could be a follow-up. This could be a worksheet that they could have done the next day, had I actually assigned this video for class. So this could be something that they could do as a study guide at home, or just for some, reinforcement, some understanding and comprehension and things of that nature, recall even, within the group setting after watching the video at home. Now, for the second day, what I had wanted to do was have them watch another video, a shorter video, only about 4 minutes 43 seconds, of comparing the two belief systems, Buddhism versus Hinduism. Now, I put this one onto PlayPosit. PlayPosit, we're all familiar with that from taking courses in this program. How it pauses the video periodically and then poses questions, right? So,
follow-up to the one that we worked on yesterday in class, but I want to go over things to reincarnation are a little bit different.
So as it would pause, a question pops up, and the questions could either be multiple choice, they can be short answer, which is not a similarity between Hinduism and Buddhism. Okay, they both originate in China. Submit. And the answers that are recorded, they get sent to, they get recorded for the teacher. So, terrific, I answered this correct. It moves on.
Like princes, nation.
Now you go on to the next one. Which caste is the highest? Even if you did this incorrectly, so I'll purposely answer the wrong answer here. I actually do know that it's priests. It still moves on with it.
Just reject that.
You can also put in short answer questions. Why does Buddhism reject the caste system? Now, for this one, it's not going to tell the students immediately whether they are right or wrong. That would be something that we could then go over the next day in class as a group. So I could say they respected or they considered all living things to be spiritually equal. And then that would just submit it. All of their answers are then recorded and they could be viewed by me. Okay, you continue.
Another one.
I'm going to pause that. But again, keeping it light on the text, heavy on the visuals, and this one very brief. Now, unfortunately, in order to do this properly, students need to be registered with PlayPosit and assigned to classes. I would create a class and then I can assign videos for them to do in class or at home, whatever. That was very difficult to do given the kind of lack of technical resources that we had for the summer school. So 5 out of the 6 students were unable to watch this at home the way that I had originally intended. It really wasn't the end of the world though, because none of them had any experience using PlayPosit either. So and it was a pretty short one, and I just let this one run straight through, and it would pause, we'd answer the questions as a group. So it wasn't the perfect kind of scenario of a flipped classroom, but still, what we wanted to accomplish was accomplished. And they answered it, we kind of went over everything as a group, and it was still productive for it. So, after that, the students were broken up into groups, and as again, only 6 students in the class, so just broke them up into 2 groups of 3. And using the notes that they had taken down for both videos, so both the one on the first day, giving them the basics of it, and then also the talking specifically about the similarities and differences, they work collaboratively and completed the Venn diagram of Hinduism, Buddhism, and then the similarities. And while Ms. Henshaw and I, we were there prepared to kind of help them through any issues and things of that nature, they really got right into it immediately. There was very little in the way of redirection or making sure they stayed on task. Not all the work was perfect. I don't want to make it seem that they, immediately had this down pat. After going over it, as a group, there were a couple of errors in there, but by and large, you could tell that they were getting it, that the lesson was sinking in to a degree. For the last part of it, for the follow-up, we did a DBQ one. This was something that Mrs. Walsh-Henshaw had found online, and she had used herself. She was planning on doing something similar to this anyway, so it worked out well. And they were able to answer the document questions collaboratively. They worked as a group, and then as like the summative assessment for this one, there was an actual essay, the Part B essay, which asking them to do essentially the same thing that they did with the Venn diagram, comparing the key, describing both the key beliefs and practices of Hinduism and Buddhism, and then discussing the differences, similarities, and relationships between the two belief systems. So it kind of scaffolded it, right? It worked its way through the study guide and the basics of getting up for the belief system, and then working its way up Bloom's pyramid into more analysis and evaluation and so forth, while also keeping that emphasis on literacy, making sure that these students are writing. Had they had their laptops and had this been done during the year, they could have submitted everything through Schoology or at the very least emailed it to me, but given that that was not possible, that most of the students in the class, as I said, didn't even have laptops at home, we allowed them just to write them out by hand. And they were submitted into Ms. Walsh-Henshaw and then incorporated for their grade by the end of it. And the essays were strong. As I said, these were they were not PhD caliber work, but it was clear that they were getting it, and implementing a flipped classroom was having a positive impact for them, at least for it. The informal feedback I got from the students was positive. They all felt that this is something that they would enjoy doing on a regular basis during the year. And it was something, if nothing else, it was a change up from the typical lecture traditional model that is used in all of their classes for the most part. So that was the basics for this. I enjoyed, doing this. I learned an awful lot about the process. As I just mentioned, at least the informal feedback I got, the students seemed to enjoy it as well. I got good feedback back from them and also Mrs. Walsh-Henshaw. So hopefully it was good for everybody the whole way around, including you people having to listen to me talk about this all the time. So best of luck to everybody with their own common assignment, and enjoy the rest of the summer.